Sumter County. That's what this does. I'm just making you aware of that, so that you'll know that that's what we're doing. Because I think that could be a little bit of an unintended consequence, and it's certainly in section B. 1 in the second paragraph, it says preference will be given to the lowest responsive resident MBE. Okay, so I do understand that. But if there isn't a resident MBE, then it still goes to the MBE, as I understand it. Is that correct, Mr. DeVos?
That's correct.
In the scenario that I just presented, is that what would happen?
That would happen.
All right.
Of course, it already goes to the lowest resident, so if you can do that, that's correct. That is
right.
correct.
I'm assuming there wouldn't be any lower resident vendors.
It says into any other MBE.
Correct. So I just want to make my colleagues on council aware that that's what this does. Yeah, that's all for now.
Mr. Chair, I just have one comment because my business is also registered with the state of South Carolina as a DBE, and just to make some clarity on what Councilman Smoke said, that company out of Chicago has to be registered through the state of South Carolina, so they're going to have to meet those demands through the section of this law, not just be a DBE from Chicago. So I want to make that clear as well. They can't come down here and take their certification from Chicago and bid on jobs and get credit for it. They have to be certified through the MBE in South Carolina.
That is correct.
Yep, I know it is because I'm one.
Well, the regulations I've got here do require, and that's how they monitor you qualify.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they're located here.
Correct.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, they just have to fill out some paperwork.
Well, it's not that easy.
All right, any other comments or questions? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, thank you. Since this was an issue that I did start and bring before council, because I do think it would be extremely good for our local economy, and I really, with all due respect, have to disagree with my colleague. I don't think it would hurt us in competitive bids. Let me just give some clarification how this works. It says preference shall be offered to the lowest responsive resident bidder, and if the lowest responsive resident bidder declines to accept the lowest bid as a bid price, then to any other local preference resident bidder in order of the lowest bid within 5%, which agrees to the lowest bid price. And a vendor shall be deemed to be a resident vendor of this county if such vendor be an individual, partnership, association, or corporation that is authorized to transact business within the state, has maintained an office in Kershaw County for the 12 months prior to the bid opening date, and maintains a representative inventory of our commodities within the county, that would be Kershaw, in which the bid is submitted and has paid all taxes duly assessed. And then it goes on, in the event the procurement is to be made pursuant to state or federal guidelines that shall prohibit or restrict local preference, then in such circumstances there shall be no local preference. I think this is a good, I think it's good for our local business people. It gives them that opportunity, if they're within 5%, that they have the option to drop to the lowest bid and keep that business in Kershaw County, keep those jobs in Kershaw County, keep that money in Kershaw County. It's a win-win for Kershaw County. Thank you.
I was looking at the local preference of the language here that the language in that appears to address what we asked. I think the question probably is not necessarily the language. The language looks okay in my opinion, but I think the question is when you're talking about 5% or 4% or 3%, just exactly what the percentage would be. And I know that everybody here is very interested in being sure that we try to give our local people as much of an opportunity and as much advantage as we can, but also hitting that delicate balance of being fair with competition and being sure we get good prices and being good stewards of the taxpayer's dollar. And I think that's something that we have to I think the old ordinance, if I remember, I think it had 2% maybe, I'm not sure, Ken, you know, was it 2 or either 3, okay. I think it had different increments in it. And I don't know if that would be helpful for members of council to take a look just as information. But I know we had an increment scheduled at one time to address that, to give local bidders preference. I believe we brought it up years ago by Mr. Fulton. We brought it up here, if my memory serves me correct. But I think it's something that we certainly want to be fair. And I don't know if anybody knows exactly what the magic number is, but that's something that we can certainly discuss. Any other smoke?
Yeah, at the last meeting, we had first reading of this ordinance. Staff had some information regarding what other counties in South Carolina do in this regard, and believe that Sumter County was the only county that you were able to find that had anything like this. Is that correct? And they've only had it for about a year? Okay. Since our last meeting, has staff found any other jurisdictions around the state that have anything like this, anything that approaches the 5% or this statute?
I think Orangeburg might, Mr. Smoke, I'm speaking from memory now, I looked at a lot of them. I think Orangeburg might, and I think maybe Charleston might have something. I know Orangeburg, I think, does.
It had more like our old ordinance, which basically said if you have a certain price, you got 2%, you know, if you were 2% or 1%.
Right. In that situation, it would actually cost the county more.
That's correct.
You have to pay. And so that's the aspect about this that I do like and I do think is an excellent idea, Mr. James. I just, again, a little question about what that amount should be. And, you know, maybe we can take another couple of weeks to think about it before final reading. But, you know, certainly to echo what the chairman just said, all of us here care about the Kershaw County economy and our local employers, but as elected officials, we also have to care about the taxpayers and how their money is being spent. So there's a balance there. So let's not, you know, turn this discussion into a situation where, you know, there's some of us who do and some who don't care about helping out the local economy and those local vendors. So I do want to be clear about that. But anyway, I may offer an amendment at third reading that would change it to 3%. So I'm just going to let that be known today, so that there's no element of surprise. And I'll yield the floor at this time.
Any other comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman,
Mr. Smoke, thank you for those comments. And I think in some ways we are on the same page. However, there is just a little disagreement I have in some of the comments. One is that certainly Orangeburg, Sumter may be two similar counties that this order reflects. However, having talked to many other counties, it's interesting to find that no county is the same with their local option preference. Actually, some counties don't even offer a local option preference. So it's very hard for us to sit here and really try to compare ourselves to another county. I think it's good when we're in probably the worst times we've ever seen financially, to do something, to give something back to the people in Kershaw County, the business folks in Kershaw County. And I think to offer them the opportunity to be able, if they're within 5%, to be able to drop back to the lowest bid, I think is a good thing. And I'll just reiterate that. Thank you.
any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, I'm looking here at the methods of source section 2-32. Yes, the first page. Just want to ask the administrator, why such a huge increase? We're almost 3 times that amount. And I would also state that I would probably offer an amendment on that for third reading. I'm fine with reading it for the second reading as is, so I can have further discussion later on. But that kind of concerns me on almost 3 times the amount.
Procurement officer and myself looked at it too. The way the procurement officer is now.